Hey ho, fellow video watchers. Welcome to this video. Alright. It's party time now. Okay, so Adir's gonna be here. And you're gonna be there. Okay. So Brix content and the refractometer to measure plant and nutrient content. So this is the topic for today's video. So just doing some brief research on this topic. It's been on my mind for a long time, but it would appear as though I'm not the only one thinking about this, which is good. But yeah, essentially there's a few different avenues to talk about nutrient density in food and why more nutrients with less calories is beneficial. I mean, we all know how to count calories and make sure, long-term excessive calorie intake with inadequate calorie outtake or calorie burning results in obesity. So if we look at that, like obviously we don't want to be ingesting more calories than we're burning, especially on a long-term period. Like if you go 5 years of eating 400 calories more than you need, more than you're burning, you're going to get a little muffin top going on. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. But I know what I'm saying. Damn, there's handles right there. Anyways, that aside, there's an article I read today actually about meat protein and whether or not plant protein or meat protein and why plant protein can be a lot healthier, and the only thing missing is B12. So if you're eating a lot of plants, like a variety of plant proteins including beans, seeds, nuts, etc., you may need to eat some yeast, I think it is, like yeast or sea kelp, seaweed. There's various things that will supplement your B12 intake, but you'll get a much better, healthier result. You'll be healthier because plant proteins are going to be denser in nutrients, and they're also going to have fiber to help flush things out and promote a healthy gut bacteria. So that's another thing that we're gonna look at here. Bacteria and fungi is going to be what makes that transition. So the other avenue, one being meat protein intake and trying to ingest the most densely nutrient packed food that we can. On the other avenue, we're going to look more specifically today at Brix content and the refractometer to measure plant nutrient content. So various plants can grow different ways, actually. In fact, we have bacteria and fungi, and we'll get to this in a second. Or we also have salts or synthetic nutrients. Okay, so we kind of have two modes of exchange to get nutrients into the plants so that they can use the nutrients and hence create nutrient dense fruit or vegetables or whatever. So cycling back, to summarize, either we can eat vegetarian protein or we can look for organic foods. And now this buzzword, whatever, some people might not like that word, some people might like that word, but we're going to make a rational case for why organic foods are better. They definitely are better. And that being said, again, why they're better is also important, because if you just slap a label on organic and you're a shiesty food producer, it may not be better food actually, but chances are it's going to be better food. And why? So most people don't know why They just think, oh, organic is just it's just a fancy label to make more money out of you. And it's like, well, yeah, okay, possibly, probably not, but possibly. And why that is because all plants are going to need to uptake nutrients. They're going to get their nutrients from somewhere. And typically it's going to be decaying life. We're looking at a forest, for instance, or a natural setting. Decaying life, so decaying plants and animals, and even, probably not as common, but we'll also see the breaking down of minerals and rocks. And that's going to be done by bacteria, beneficial bacteria, and beneficial fungi. And that's going to, in a lot of natural settings, that's going to complete the kind of circle of life, if you will. Like the decaying matter, the nutrients that the plants need to uptake are going to be transferred into the root system by beneficial bacteria and by fungi. And fungi can often make a trade. They'll trade carbohydrates, or they'll trade sugars to plants to offer them nutrients. Actually, it's really interesting, and we'll get into a separate video on that topic about fungi in the forest, balancing nutrients, and how that is akin to the invention of the internet. It's a whole nother video. We'll get there. Very interesting stuff. So bacteria and fungi, or salts and synthetic nutrients. So salts or synthetic nutrients are not allowed in organic food production, at least here in Canada. And the reason why is because this is going to create a different kind of a plant, actually. And typically synthetic nutrients are going to give you a lower Brix content, or just a lower nutrient content. Brix is a measurement of the sugar content in an aqueous solution. So it's used in a lot of different things like wine making, or maple syrup manufacturing, where they're very specifically measuring the sugar contents. But at the same time, you can use a refractometer to measure the plant nutrient content, because if a plant has more sugars in its tissues, then typically it's going to have more flavonoids and whatever else these big chemical jargon terminology is for good nutrients. Like, it's going to have, if it has more sugar, that means it's producing more, so the plant will be healthier. So essentially, to summarize so far, what we're looking at is the difference between nutrient uptake from organic or natural and the more recent invention of salt nutrients or synthetic nutrients. And yeah, another bonus to this kind of, if you're growing a garden, you can't you can't provide too much nutrients in an organic setting, because it's the bacteria and the fungi that are doing that breaking down of the nutrients and transferring it to the plants. Then the plant will only kind of request so much nutrients from the soil, and the soil will provide those nutrients on demand, so to speak. And that's documented in one of the more popular organic gardening YouTube channels. I forget his name right now. But yeah, he talks about that all the time. He's like, oh, put this rock mineral stuff in there. Oh, you can't overdo it because, it's the bacteria and the fungi doing that. Whereas salts and synthetic nutrients, we actually have a lot of problems with this stuff, because it runs off into the water system, and then it creates algae bloom, and then that algae bloom takes away all the oxygen from the water, and then it becomes this gross green puddle of unoxygenized, deoxygenated water, whatever the term might be. So then we have to aerate the water when too many synthetic nutrients get into it. So again, is eating organic better? Well, I'd say knowing where your food comes from is better, hands down. And sometimes organic food, you might kind of just feel like it's better, whatever. You might pay more for it, that sort of thing. But I would suggest, if you're growing your own food, you should stay away from synthetic nutrients, and you should look more towards the organic setting, where you can inoculate your soil with beneficial bacteria and beneficial fungi, and that will boost your growth production by far, and you might get tighter, denser fruits and vegetables, but they're going to have a higher Brix content and a higher refractometer measurement of the actual content of the plant will be higher. So again, now cycling full circle all the way back, it's like, yeah, you can get veggie protein instead of meat protein, and that's going to have a higher density of nutrient intake per calorie. You can also get organic food, or the best option is to grow your own food organically, and that will also further compound the benefits of getting more nutrient dense food with less calories, because that's actually a huge problem. A lot of people are micronutrient deficient, probably including myself, because I haven't really been eating that well lately, and I definitely haven't been eating organic only food lately, and I haven't been, filtering my tap water, so I'm getting like chlorine and I'm also getting fluoride like in my gut bacteria, in my gut biome, and that's probably not helping any. But yeah, so I feel it. I notice it specifically on my face, like when I don't drink enough water, obviously, and when I don't eat very well. My body processes it through my skin actually. So in other ways, but I definitely notice the difference when I am changing up my food sources, and when I have more micronutrient dense food, then well, you feel way better. You're more exuberant. You have more awareness. You're more awake and alive. And to summarize now, that actually kind of brings up this graph. I'm not very good at video editing yet, so I'm just going to draw it here. But basically, as the nutrient content of your food goes down, then the risk of diseases goes up. And that makes sense, right? Like if you're somewhere here and you're eating food that's like very, very low nutrients, and your risk of disease is going to be much higher, because if you think about the chemicals, the biochemistry of your body, well, you can't do a lot of your biological functions unless you have the right amount of nutrients. And yeah, so thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Smash that like button. Share this video to a friend if you enjoyed it. And well, you're probably already subscribed, but if you're not, you know what to do. Have a good night. Cheers, everybody.